Hey guys, Level Cap here, and today we're going to talk about 10 things the Battlefield 1 Alpha got right. And to jump right in here, I have to start off with something that is probably the most important to me personally, and that is the ability to play this game with a squad of friends. I know you might be thinking, hey, what about your series squad up that you've been doing for years and years and years? Well, that's been an incredibly difficult series to record because we usually spend the first 45 minutes or so just trying to get in the same squad on the same server. It was so difficult before, but now there is a feature so that you can squad join a game, and no longer is that going to be a major headache for people who want to play with 3 or 4 or 5 different friends. Getting on the same team and in the same squad is now a feature that is included on the PC version of Battlefield. I believe it's also included on console, but I think console actually had this feature a year or two ago. And it does seem a bit ironic that this feature is just being implemented in a game that for a long time has been touted as being one of the best team-oriented shooters out there. But better late than never, and hopefully this feature will also carry over into Battlefield 4 and maybe even Battlefield 3. We'll have to wait and see. The next thing Battlefield 1 got right was the theme shift. I mean, we've been operating on modern military Battlefield games for quite a while. Bad Company 2, Battlefield 3, Battlefield 4, Battlefield Hardline. I mean, I'm kind of played out on modern military gear and weaponry. I mean, I'd still play a modern Battlefield game, but the fact that they've chosen to go back in time as opposed to forward in time, I think is the right choice. It's a beautiful looking game, and the Frostbite engine is just rendering World War I settings gorgeously. Now, arguably, it is a bit more of a World War II style shooter in terms of the actual gameplay and vehicle mechanics and pacing and all that kind of stuff, but still just having an entirely new set of weaponry that I've never seen in a shooter before is really refreshing. Now, the next major thing that Battlefield 1 did right was destruction. People in the Battlefield franchise have been clamoring for more and more destruction. We weren't really fooled by Levolution. It was kind of spectacular looking, but very, very scripted. We want dynamic destruction. We got a taste of it in Bad Company 2 and never saw anything quite on that level again. Battlefield 1 is bringing back that level of destruction and even adding some. Sure, they've kind of toned it back in certain areas and made it so that some buildings can't be completely destroyed, but you can still, for the most part, level a city. And in addition to that, you can really do some serious damage to the ground, creating no man's land style landscapes across the battlefield where grassy plains might have been before. It's really incredible and by far the most impressive looking destruction I've seen in a Battlefield game to date. I have no doubt that some of the more urban-oriented maps are going to be equally, if not more impressive than the one we're playing in the alpha. Now, I'd like to start getting into maybe some of the smaller things or the meta things that Battlefield fans will really appreciate. And the first one I want to mention is the fact that the giant airship that comes in, the Behemoth, is not on rails. This is something that could have easily been done by DICE. They could have had it circle around the map and just let people spawn into it and shoot down below, much like the AC-130. In fact, fans probably wouldn't have been that upset, just considering it's been done so much now in Battlefield that we would have expected it, not really been like, all right, well, whatever, DICE is going to put vehicles on rails. But the fact that they said, hey, let's not put the airship on rails, let's give players control of this thing once again, like we had back in Battlefield 1942 with the massive battleships in that game. We're giving the airship player control. It's awesome. It's worked really well in the alpha so far. We haven't had any people like trolling too hard with it. I think most people are pretty interested in flying it over the main objectives and bombing people with the bombs on it. It's worked really well, and it's just nice to know that the airship isn't going to be on this set path no matter what's going on. We'll have to wait and see how the other behemoths are handled. I hope DICE gives as much player control over them as possible. And please, DICE, don't put that train on rails. We want complete freedom there. I want to take that thing off the rails, into the jungle, do whatever. The next thing that Battlefield 1 got right, and this is basically a new feature for the Battlefield franchise, is when you spawn in, flying in from the spawn screen onto the battlefield gives you this amazing sense of presence and location. It lets you know where you are in regards to the rest of the combat, the objectives, and it doesn't sort of just pop you in out of nowhere. You have this great intro animation that not only looks really sexy, but is useful, especially for orienting new players and veterans alike. This will probably be one of those features that we all take for granted in a month or two, but I just want to sort of give it a bit of credit now, as it really is a cool and nice new feature. Another thing Battlefield 1 got right is player footsteps. They're now clear, and it's very easy to tell what speed somebody's moving at. Are they running? Are they walking? What kind of ground are they on? Never has it been easier to locate your enemy in Battlefield via sound, even when there's crazy sound effects going on around you. This is something that the Battlefield franchise has struggled a bit with in the most recent titles, and I'm glad they've sort of put those footstep sounds in the forefront now. It's something that's been so important to first-person shooters, is being able to locate your enemy via sound, and it gives good first-person shooter players one more tool to gain the advantage on their foes. Now, the next thing Battlefield 1 did right is they reallocated the killing point distribution. Now, before in Battlefield games, if you got a kill, you would get 100 points. Even if another player did 99 points of damage to an enemy and you managed to finish him off with 1 extra point of damage, you would still get 100 points for that kill. Now the way it works is you actually get 20 points for finishing off a soldier, and the rest of your points are based on how much damage you do. So if you just solo an enemy player from full health, you'll do 100 points of damage, and then you'll get an extra 20 points for kill confirmation. There's also extra points in there for like headshots and other stuff going on, like Savior and whatever. There's a whole bunch of other points and stuff in there, but the fact of the matter is that the damage that you do to an enemy soldier largely dictates how many points you get for a kill. So at least when it comes to kill point distribution, this is a much more equal and fair way of portraying it on the scoreboard, and should more accurately reflect how well a player did or how much damage they did to the enemy team. I also appreciate the added audio indicator of getting a kill. We've had the visual indicator for a while now, the little red hit marker on screen letting you know that you finished off the soldier, but having an audio marker to go with that is certainly welcome, and I like it. It doesn't really take me out of the element too much either. Now, something that I've wanted in Battlefield ever since Halo came out, and Halo came out before the first Battlefield game, was vehicle enter and exit animation. They always looked really cool in Halo. They sort of added that strategic element of, do I get into the vehicle? It's going to take me about a second to get in. Should I do that, or will the enemy kill me? You now have those enter animations in Battlefield, and they're cool. They really add to the gameplay, and they make players think twice about getting out of a vehicle or getting into a vehicle before dealing with infantry threats that are close by. There are no exit animations as of yet. I don't know if they'll be adding those or if DICE just wants to kind of go with enter animations for the time being, but it is a nice addition to the game. Also, switching seat position in aircraft now has an animation, and it looks so flippin' cool. I think everybody who's tried it out so far has agreed that it is just a nice addition to the game. Even though it's more of an aesthetic addition, it's certainly welcome. Now, speaking of airplane combat, another thing Battlefield 1 has gotten right is making aircraft combat fun. There's definitely some debate as to the balance of airplanes versus ground. I think they're a bit underpowered when it comes to dealing damage to ground targets. But regardless of that, it's actually really fun to fly them. So fun that even though you know you're not that effective against ground targets, you want to do it anyway, because fighting other aircraft is more fun than it's been in any Battlefield game. And I think a lot of that has to do with the teamwork element now associated with aircraft. When you pick your aircraft, you don't just have to pick whatever is available. You can either pick a bomber, a fighter, or an attack plane. And depending on who's in your squad or who you're playing with, you might pick something that can suit 3 seats or 2 seats, or you might just go solo in a fighter, and it always gives you the aircraft that is most suitable for your situation or what you are actually in the mood for. Some of the most fun I've had playing the Alpha so far has been flying the attack plane around with Matimio as my tail gunner and just ganging up on other aircraft. It's been unbelievably fun, really, really engaging. A little bit of balance against ground targets would be nice, but at the moment it's still so much fun to fly them, and I never thought aerial combat would be this much fun and this engaging in a Battlefield game. Now, the 10th thing I want to talk about here that Battlefield 1 did right is modular vehicle destruction. And even though we're only seeing it in sort of a limited phase here in the closed alpha. I think we'll probably, or hopefully we'll see more of it in the beta when that comes out, is being able to destroy parts of vehicles, aircraft especially. This prevents the long turning dogfights that occur in the air in like Battlefield 4 and Battlefield 3, where you're just circling around endlessly. Now if a fighter gets on somebody's tail and he shoots out their tail and messes up their ability to turn quickly, you can take them out even faster, and it sort of ends dogfights quicker and sort of it basically creates a victor very, very quickly. And the same happens with tanks and stuff too. If you've got a good shot on a tank's engine, like the light tank, you can take out their engine, immobilize them, and now their best defense was their mobility. They no longer have that. So you can get some really good key shots on other tanks to disable them in meaningful ways. And this is just a really cool way to add a lot to vehicle meta combat, and I just love it. Anyway, those are sort of my top 10 things that the Battlefield 1 Alpha got right. I'm really looking forward to seeing what other kind of features or elements are added in the beta. We'll have to wait and see, and of course the final game is going to have a ton of new content. As always, guys, thanks for watching. Let me know which of these points you think are the coolest, or what other things you might want to see in Battlefield 1. As always, I'll see you next time. This is Level Cap signing off.